Nick Moore from Mackay. I'm with Daiwa Australia, and we're up at Teemburra Dam today, and I'm here to talk about one of my favourite styles of catching barra, which is jerk baiting for barra. I have a preference for two jerk baits, and one is a double clutch, Daiwa double clutch 115, and the other is this Steez Current Master 93 SP. So it's a 93mm jerk bait. It comes with BKK Viper 41s on it, and I've been very fortunate to help Daiwa with this one in a bit of testing over, it must almost be a year now, and getting it tuned and getting it tested. And I'm very glad to be filming this as well. I managed to get a few more because I was down to one. I had lost a few. So yeah, great little jerk bait. It's a lot smaller than the double clutch 115 at 9 centimeters in length. So yeah, it's a pretty good little lure, more of a finesse style jerk bait, and sometimes you need the smaller baits, specifically in Teemburra. You catch some good fish on smaller style jerk baits in this dam. So yeah, the Current Masters are they're ready to fish out the box. I can show you what this one over here. It's got your BKK Viper 41s on it, good toe points, and really good rings. The reason that I typically have two jerk baits on. I have a bigger style jerk bait, and then I normally always have a finesse jerk bait on. It depends on what the fish are actually doing, and I normally cycle between the two. This dives slightly deeper than the double clutch to sort of get to that 6 foot depth if you're finessing it. So similar depth range, just slightly smaller. That's the Steez Current Master. Yeah, so the Current Masters, I like to fish them slightly less aggressive than I would most jerk baits. So it's a little bit more of a pull on the rod rather than a solid tap on a slack line. Still slack line, but it's a little bit more of a pull, and smaller movements in the rod tip. So you're not doing the very big jerks, you're just doing little taps, if you can call it that, and slight pulls every now and again. And I found that that's what works really well for these Current Masters. Being a little guy, in terms of a barra jerk bait, you really want to fish it like a little fish would be moving around in the water column, so they don't move as fast as your biggest species. So you want to try and mimic that as close to as possible, and try and make it look like a wounded fish, basically. So just fish it light little taps, etc., and vary the speed of your taps. So still little taps, but sometimes you just do a lot more little quicker ones, and then wind up that slack. So the outfits that I like to fish it on, this is a Steez Firewolf. It's a 4 to 10 kilo rod, around that 7 foot mark, 6 foot 8 to 7 foot. That's what I generally like. I fish it over with 30-pound line, and with these little jerk baits, I don't generally like fishing at more than 60 pound. So 50 or 60 pound is pretty good. The thing with it is, with barra, obviously you're going to get quite a bit of rub off. Very hard to rub off a fish if you've got no tension on it. So you just have to fight them a little bit more finesse when you're fishing lighter leaders. If it's a big fish, if it's a little fish, doesn't really matter. So yeah, that's how I like to fish it. So I go to a loop knot direct onto the nose. I sometimes pull the split ring off, but that does come with split rings on the front. The other thing that I like to do is fish them on a spin rod. Same sort of a thing, a shorter spin rod. And the reason I like a spin rod with these little lures that's smaller and more finesse is sometimes you want to get the distance, and wind assisted casts with the spin rod, you can cast a little lure like this a really long way. I normally go the same braid, so generally J braid Grand 30 pound with between 40 and 60 leader, like I've said, but most of the time it's around that 60 pound leader there. Same sort of a thing, if I want it slightly deeper, I'll go a fluoro. Otherwise, if shallower, I go a mono.